What's up, everybody? A Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on Stationeers. When we left off in the last episode, we were trying to do hydroponics in this small room over here. It didn't work very well. I had it kind of set up weird, didn't understand some of the mechanics correctly. A lot has happened between then and now. So there was a couple of comments that explained, I'm going to explain a little bit more as well, but explained a bit more of what I was doing incorrectly with the wall cooler, and it's surprising how many other YouTube videos I've seen that made the exact same mistakes on how the wall coolers actually work. So I appreciate everybody who was setting me correct, because I was watching other people's videos and stuff and still probably would have been doing it the wrong way. So yeah, you might have noticed this little hydroponic room we had over here is not there anymore. I've been busy. As in, like, I've been busy. I've never actually done this before. This is probably going to be one of my best episodes of Stationeers because I've actually been working off camera almost all week, off and on, little by little, which I don't normally do. Normally I'm playing other stuff. So this was kind of new for me. But I have this. Ta-da! I've built doors. Yep. Last episode we ended on stairs. Out here. You know? Now I have doors. I'm amazing. No. Actually, this is a hydroponic room. I've been busy. So we're going to close this up and vent this. This is just a little active vent that goes to a passive vent, pushes it back out into that room. So this is kind of like a poor man's airlock kind of thing. Open this up. Boom! What? We have a hydroponics room. Now, there's still a few things I've got to adjust and fix here. Particularly, everything works fine except for the cooler. I've got to do some stuff with the cooler. Because it can't keep up with the plants still. It's like it helps and it's working correctly, but it's not enough. So there's a couple of different ways I could go about it. I believe one suggestion was to actually use an air conditioner, which was like, actually, you know what? I think it might do the same things as these together. Like you might be able to just set a value and it adjusts accordingly. I've never really messed with the air conditioner unit, so that's something we might do in the future. I've also changed up my piping, and you can see there's a lot of pipes and stuff and things. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make another, maybe 2 or 3. No, I mean total. I might have 2 or 3 total of these guys. And I might add some more radiators up there. I don't know if I need more coolers or radiators. I haven't figured out. I think it might be the radiators. I might try that first. I might make some more radiators and put the passive vent over here and bring the radiators around over here. And see what's going on. See, this is cool. This is cool. It's all working. And as long as everything isn't running full tilt, like the heaters aren't on and all that kind of stuff, the power can kind of keep up. You guys probably saw we were at like 74. It's at like 78-ish or something like that. I think 79. So it does go up when the heaters and stuff aren't working, even if this vent and stuff is on. When we get daylight, but at night and stuff, it's still pulling on the batteries. So essentially, though, I think my first shot, since the radiators are just iron, I don't think they're very expensive, I might try 6 radiators and then put the passive vent over here and see if that fixes it. If it has to do with the intake, where I need to pull in more air and cool it off, then I might just leave the radiators and just build some more build some more thingy-mabobbers. Coolers! Can't think of the word. I will have to adjust my logic. There's some logic stuff down here on the back side of the base. I've got my furnace set up over there. I've got, like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of crap that went down that I'm going to show you guys. I have a backup save before I filled in all of this stuff to where all the walls and stuff were still exposed. And that's what I'll probably go through and show you now, while present day me is going and making more radiators and wall coolers and such. So I will be right back as you guys get to watch kind of what the inner guts look like. Okay, so I might have lied and said I was going to show you the past tense, what it looked like with everything opened up, but I decided to show you the other stuff while I was here. So I hooked up 3 wall coolers, and I've got 6 radiators now. I have to move the vent over to here, but everything else should be working fine. And there isn't anything disturbing the temperature in there at the moment. So the reason I wanted to do it now is because I changed the logic up here. This is my wall of logic kind of thing for the hydroponics. And I thought about doing it on the floor or something, but I'm glad I didn't now because this is a lot. So walls work really good for logic stuff. But since I changed it, I didn't want to go back and show the logic of the old one, or my old save file. I'll show the rest of the piping and everything like that, but since I'm already out here, I might as well do it the new way. So, the basic setup is there's a reader, a comparator, or compare logic unit, whatever you want to call it, a writer, in some cases, in the temperature cases, it's batch writers, and then memory units to hold the things to compare to is kind of the general premise. Now, some of you might be looking at this going, holy crap at all the wires. I don't know that this is the most efficient. In fact, it's probably not. But I used a lot of these 4-way splits and stuff just so that everything was connected to everything. So basically, I was sure all of the different bits and bobs could talk to each other. Is really, I just didn't take the time to actually, it's like this right here, having a 4-way, a 4-way, a 4-way, and then these corners and junctions. This is probably not efficient. This probably is unnecessary. I literally, like I said, I just did it in a hurry to make sure that everything was connected. So at some point, I could reassess this and, you know, figure out a more efficient way to do it, or what doesn't necessarily need to talk to each other and what does, you know. But this is the way that it's set up. So, hey, the sun's come out. Cool. That'll make things easier. So, the first thing we have is the, I pretty much labeled everything with what it was, where it was for, and what it was assessing. So in this case, this is a reader unit for hydroponics, and it's looking for the pressure. Same way with this is a compare unit for hydroponics and the pressure. That's kind of my naming convention I went with. So essentially, this is going to read in the pressure from the gas sensor, and it's going to spit out the pressure from the gas sensor. Oh, okay. I was like, why do I have to... I named... that gas sensor hydroponics, so that's the item, and then the variable I'm looking for is pressure. And in case any of you didn't notice it, it's right there in the corner. So then that goes to the comparator, which will basically check the pressure against the ideal pressure that I would like, and then sets the, whether it's less than, and this is the ideal at 45. I figured 40, 45, somewhere in there would be fine. It doesn't actually need to be that high for plants to grow, so I could lower this if I wanted the, actually I might lower this now that I think about it, because, my, oh, no, let's do, oh, dang nabbit, let's do 30. Let's see if 30 works. Because I think I've planted plants at like 25, and even though the little number was yellow, it didn't make any waves about it. So we'll just set that to 30, and that should be fine. So if this is less than that, then basically this goes to a logic writer, which looks for the active vent for CO2 in, and then it basically turns it on. So that's fairly simplistic. The temperature ones are about the same. You read in the gas sensor temperature, and then I'm comparing against the low temperature. So this is my temperature I've set for the low degree, which I could also adjust this probably. Or was it the high one? The high one I think was a little high. Like it got pretty hot before they came on. So let's take this down to like 304 maybe? I think 303. Let's do 307. Let's try that. Let's take it a little bit slow. Basically, I threw this in because I didn't know this. I'm glad I watched a video on it and somebody brought this up. Apparently, for whatever reason, I don't know why this happens in like reality too, not just in games, but in reality. It's like nobody can get on the same page. But the gas sensor temperature comes out in Kelvin. Everything else in the game seems to be going off Celsius. Why that's Kelvin, no freaking clue. So basically I did a Kelvin to Celsius converter online and found what the number for, like, 20 degrees or 30 degrees, and it came out to like 293.2, and this one was like 308.15, but it seemed to be, I think it's because of where the gas sensor is located, that it was like 5 degrees hotter than I wanted it to be. So I might even take this down like 305 and see what that does. So essentially how this works, though, is it takes the temperature and compares it to the memory unit again. And in this case, if it's too low, then it turns, this is a batch writer to turn on all the wall heaters. And I reconfigured this to be a batch writer. Originally, this was a logic writer, but since I have more than one wall cooler now, it needed a batch writer. So that's why I wanted to do this part now, because I've changed this. So again, this temperature reads in, it compares it to this one, and if it's too high, so greater than this number, then we turn on all the air conditioners. Now this part gets a little bit more tricky, but it's not really that much more complicated. So the CO2 mix. You can actually, I didn't know this, there's a lot of stuff you can get from the gas sensor. So from the gas sensor, there's a ratio of carbon dioxide, essentially the percentage of carbon dioxide that's in the atmosphere. And it comes out in this 0.9 blah, 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 blah. So then I run it through a math unit. So the reader here, and then the convert percent, which is over here, and this is just set to 100, and it multiplies it by that, so it comes out with 90. So it sets it to an actual decimal point percentage type of thing. So then it runs it through a comparator. So we have the math output, and then it checks this number. So if it's less than 80% of CO2, it triggers what I've dubbed the drain vent. And essentially the way this works, I've seen a couple other ones, but in my opinion they were more complicated than they needed to be. I've seen a couple that measured different nitrogen, oxygen, blah, blah, blah. Now, in their defense, the one I did watch about nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide was trying to create an atmosphere where you could walk around without your suit on, aka it wasn't just carbon dioxide. And that would, you could kind of set this up to where it would be like the whole thing would work around your whole base. But I just decided to go the simplistic route and compare the carbon dioxide. So essentially what happens is if, and I'll show you the guts in a second, but this vent is the drain vent, and it's connected to my filtration system. This pipe in here that pulls it into my filters. So essentially what goes on is if the room isn't pressurized enough, this turns on and it pulls from the CO2 tank, which actually at the moment I'm pretty low on, which is why this is always on. It can't actually meet the fill measurement, which is why I turned that down a little bit to see if I could fix it. And then when the plants give off air, or if I open my mask or whatever, if there's more than, if it pushes everything to where the ratio is below 80% for carbon dioxide, it turns the drain vent on, which pulls all of that other stuff. It pulls everything out. It'll pull out oxygen, nitrogen, water, whatever. But the interesting part is because it all filters back through the filter system, then this is going to drain the room, but then it's going to also trip the pressure sensor to say there's not enough pressure, which turns this vent on. So it basically would filter everything out and then pump the CO2 back into the room. So it's kind of a nice little loop. And then the wall heaters and the coolers obviously kind of do their own thing. And then I've got a pipe running here, which is again tapped into the drain system that puts it into the filtration system. This goes all the way over to my furnace. That's the output of the furnace. So when I do furnace stuff and I have a bunch of gases trapped in there, we can run it back into the filtration system, and then it pulls that I'll show you this right here because this isn't really different. This is a little complicated, but it's basically a couple of fail-safe setups. is what I have set up here. So we've got a pressure regulator, and this is going into the input of the furnace, so we can start using pollutants to power our furnace. I think you can just use pollutants. I'm pretty sure. I don't think you actually have to use the oxides and the volatiles and stuff. I think that's just the easiest way to get them, but do correct me if I'm wrong, because at the moment I've just got this set up this way. So we could turn this on and open this valve. This is kind of redundant, but I like the control situations where I can really make sure I'm controlling the flow of gases correctly. So we can turn on the pressure regulator, open the valve, it's going to pull from the tank, and if this is closed and this is open, it'll push it into the furnace, and then we can adjust how much we're pushing in. And I think I had this set a little generously low kind of thing, because it's pretty cold in there, so I need a little bit more gas to heat it up to get it started. I think. I could be wrong. And then I've also got, for jetpack propellant and stuff like that, we've got another pressure regulator so we don't blow up the tank, but we could leave this closed, open this valve, turn all this on, you know, etc. and so on, though this is kind of redundant now that I'm looking at it, because this will only let that much through. But we could adjust this so that I don't really need this, I guess, actually. But whatever, I'll mess with it later. I haven't really used it that much. And then I've got a valve over here that goes to the drain. And the reason there's a valve here is because if I just fill it up, turn it on, it's just going to start pulling gas out. And I'd like to keep it built up so we can use the gases to smelt whatever we're looking for. So that's basically the logic and the furnace setup. I might take a second here and show you the inner guts of it. Alrighty, so if you'll step back in time with me here for a second. Now, you'll obviously notice I have all this stuff set up and whatever, but some of it's a little bit different because I changed this. This is not a batch writer anymore, blah, blah, blah. So kind of ignore all that. Most everything is the same, but what I really wanted to show you guys was the guts of the piping system. So I showed you all that part, and then when we get over here, we've got this part which I've changed in the rest of the video. You can see where we've got all this running along. I've got the water line coming from there, which you probably already saw. The one thing I forgot to mention, you might have noticed it, but I did put an area power controller right here to separate this and even that vent over there. All of that. That vent is the furthest thing that's harder to remember. But all of this stuff, all of this logic, all of that's on its own circuit. And I did that just because I was starting to put a lot of stuff on one circuit kind of thing. So I thought I might want to separate that out. As for the piping, so we've got this is the pipe from the furnace. As you can see, I've changed that around a little bit as well. But this is the pipe for the furnace. This also ties into that vent that feeds into the filtration system. So all this goes into the filtration system. And it goes down over there into all my units. And this one's just got that little loop there, which is these guys for filtering out that room. And then we've got a power line that runs around there. This power line also, get off the wall, doesn't really matter. This power also runs under here, connects up the doors, and then goes to this vent, and it's basically the same thing over here. So that's pretty much the piping and power setup. You might be able to see it a little bit better now that there's no stuff here, but all these are basically tied into different various cables, things. There was a lot of cabling. I had to do a lot of mining to get that much copper. Alright, so let's jump back to present day and see how this actually works. Alrighty, so back in the present day where we've got our, I mean, that was fast, right? We sealed that whole room up. So there's that power controller I was telling you about earlier, or previously, depending on how you look at time. So yeah, I won't pretend to fully understand the whole where you need to use transformers and when to use this kind of cable and stuff. I know that the game is realistic enough, if you overload the cable, you can burn it out. I've never had that happen, but I don't really know what the criteria and stuff is, but I've heard a lot of different people use transformers or power controllers and stuff to separate and create little sub-networks so you're not overloading stuff. So I figured it wouldn't be a bad idea to have hydroponics on its own thing, especially with all this logic. Not only that, it made it a whole lot easier to set up the logic, because anytime I was selecting different things, it was only ever items that were on this circuit. So, temperature-wise and everything, we should be fine. But the big thing is going to be when I start planting things is whether or not all this can keep up with cooling it. That's going to be the bigger linchpin thing. I do have a little bit of water, I think. I did so many different versions of this that, yeah, so we have a little bit. Not a ton, but it's enough that they won't be thirsty or whatever like that. So we should be able to start planting it. Alright, no sunlight. Cool. So yeah, I have a save here set up right before this. So it should allow us to kind of reset it if we mess this up and they stop growing. I will say, when I tested this before with just the single cooler, it got to grow the wheat. Like, it actually got to where I could harvest the wheat. But then, shortly after I harvested a couple of these, this kind of stuff was dying because it couldn't keep up with it. Now, the other big linchpin to this is going to be power. Because right now, the AC and the coolers and the heaters aren't actually running, and so at night it'll probably draw some, but then overall we can kind of make up for what we're draining. However, the problem is going to be once these start growing and then these coolers have to cool everything down. That's going to be the big problem, because if these have to run constantly to keep it cool, even if they can keep up, I don't know that the power draw can handle it. So that's going to kind of be the big linchpin on whether or not I need to make more solar panels or whatever. Actually, you know what? I might actually just make a few more solar panels. I think I can do 3. I mean, up on top there before I have to place them somewhere else. I think I can do 3 more panels up there. I don't know what I actually need, though. I probably have everything. Ah, I'm low on gold. Okay. It'll probably make this one. I'm learning that right as the first one ticks, it'll keep going, so now it won't let me do the second one. So there's that. So I'll need to find some more gold. We'll go ahead and throw you in there. I don't happen to have any more solar panels, do I? Hydraulic pipe and no, I don't have it. Oh! Crap. I need at least 1 more gold than that. Dagnabbit. Alright, what are you gonna do? Quite frankly, I could go mining. I really just don't feel like it. I've done a lot of mining since the last episode. Kind of burnt out on mining a bit. I don't have any more of anything in there. So I'm probably just going to pause it and wait for daylight and just see what transpires here, and we'll go from there. I'm a little concerned that this is pulling, but I think it's from this battery. I think it's charging that. So, yeah, if we have enough gold, we could make 2 more solar panels. I probably have enough cable to run the cabling up there and just tie it into the existing. Oh, the plants must be doing something. Alright, hold on. Let's check this out. Because I was wondering why there was so much atmospheric activity going on here. And I think it's because the plants are doing something, which is adjusting the atmosphere. So we're at 31. See, that's what I was saying about the sensor thing, is I think because over here it's 31 point something. I don't know what I have that set to, but these should be coming on. Oh, there they go. Okay, 30, wait. They went back off. What happened? What are we doing here? 32. I don't quite get what's happening here because they're coming on, but then they're going right back off. And they're not... The temperature's still going up. It's got to be where this gas sensor is. Okay. That's a problem. It's too close to the gas sensor, I'm guessing. That's something I didn't anticipate being a problem. Because it's weird. It's like the rest of it over here is still heating up too much. It's like the AC units aren't getting... that's a problem. Because overall, it's still climbing. I mean, if I'm looking at just the general atmosphere of the room, it's all the way up to 35.8 now, or 36. So, well, now, hold on, now it's cooling off. Okay. Now it's doing something. But it's still climbing. It's still climbing over here. So I'm thinking there's too much airflow over here, and there's not enough over this area to keep it cool. Well, that's going down. No, it's weird. I don't understand this at all because it's fighting back and forth. 1 minute it goes down, then it comes back up, then it increases, then it goes down a little bit, then it comes back. It's like it's bouncing all over the place, and I can't really tell exactly what's going on. Because the reason I'm confused is you would think, and this is just a theory, obviously, but you would think that even if the sensor is tripping too soon... Right now, they're all on, though, and I've got 3 of them with 6 radiators. I don't know how to cool it off any more than that, but yet it's still climbing. And you would think, even if the sensor is too close, it's hot enough right now that the vents are still running. Like, they're on. They're not flicking on and off like they were before. They're just constantly running. So you would think, even though the sensor may be tripping a little too late because it doesn't see that further over in the room it's hotter, you would still... personally, I would think that you would still get... I would think it would still be enough to cool the room, is I guess my point. Like, if the sensor is tripping enough that it's going to keep those on all the time, you would think eventually it would cool the whole room down, kind of thing. And I have to admit, I don't know how you're supposed to do these hydroponic things when all I've got is 3 of them in each row, so a total of 9, and it's still heating everything up too much. I don't understand that, really, because I don't know how else to do it. It's kind of like, you know, I mean, how many do you need? 9 air conditioning units? Do you need 3 over there and 3 other? Like, it gets a little ridiculous as to how much heat these things are putting off. And I understand that it's because the gases are hotter, not that they're, like, giving off warmth. I get that. But it's left me with a little bit of, like, how do you do this? Because the principle is sound, but it's not working, aka you need more of them. And it's kind of like, okay, well, how many more do I need to get this to work? I mean, do you need 1 per hydroponic tray kind of thing? Like, it gets a little silly after a while. The only thing I'm not sure about is if I've created some kind of loop. Let me try this real quick, because I'm pretty sure this is a failed experiment. The plants are going to end up dying anyway. So, in the pipe network here, it's got 66 degrees and 13 kPa. This is 42 and 12. This is 44. What I'm wondering is, I don't know... Oh, this is world. No, I need the pipe. 67... Pipe. Right, it's right there. Give me the pipe. That's annoying. It's right there. This one works. I can get the pipe off this one. What's the problem? I'm thinking the gas sensor might actually be too close, because over here it's doing okay. Like now it's at 40, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I bet you over here it's still, yeah, we're at 46 over here. And it's still rising. That's the problem. It would be fine if it was just a little warmer over here than it is over there, but it's getting hotter. It's not cooling it off enough. That's the big issue over here. And then you got over here where it's like 40 point. It's still climbing. So it's just not enough. I got 6 radiators and 3 coolers and it's still not enough. So the only thing I don't know is if I've created a feed loop where it's not actually going up and it's just going back and forth and they're spinning back and forth. One way to check that, I guess, would be to see... Yeah, see, this is putting out... This is putting out gas that's 70 degrees. So that's part of the problem. Is that this is actually putting out... Well, now that's cooled down. But yeah, that I think is the problem, is it's like this isn't doing hardly anything apparently up here. So it makes me wonder what exactly is going on. I'm not really sure. I wonder if maybe I could do like a volume pump up here to make sure everything's being pushed through? I don't know. I don't know if that would work or not. I'm wondering if it's because it's a passive vent that it's also, like, as this stuff is circulating around, if it's getting air pushed through there. But as far as I understood it, the wall cooler should be pushing it through there, so even if stuff goes in the vent, it should still be kicking it back out. Which we're seeing all the particles move away from it, so it does seem to suggest that.
High pressure.
High pressure? It's 10 kPa, lady. Get out of here. So yeah, I'm not sure if the coolers aren't working or if it's not enough. That's the big question here at this point that I could use you guys' input on. From everything that I saw online and everything, this seemed like it would be a sufficient enough setup. Like, it seemed like that would be more than enough and it would work. But it's not working. I mean, we're at 50.9 now, so these should start dying any minute now. It should start telling you that they're withering. I was hoping that we'd actually get... And I also wanted to see... Oh, okay. So the solar panel's at like or the battery's at like 95. So as long as it can last through the night, it seems like it's doing okay in terms of that. So when are these going to start dying? Is it 52? Ah, there we go. It's like 51 point... or 53. It looks like 53 is when they start dying. So, yeah, I could use you guys' input. I realize that the sensor is probably not in the best spot because it's still seeing it at 45. However, like I said, the sensor being too close would cause it to turn off too soon or not be quite accurate. It's basically 46 degrees over here, and it's about 54 over here. So 46 to 54, we're looking at like a close to 10 degree difference, I think. Wait, no. 46, 54. No, that would be an 8 degree. It looks like we've got about an 8 degree discrepancy kind of thing. Oh, this worked. But see, this one's still cool over here. It's 46, so it hasn't. These haven't started dying just yet. Oh, wait, no, this is 62, right where this is coming out. Oh. I still don't think this should matter, but if this is the hottest point, it's because the carbon dioxide is heating up, and as it's getting pulled out and pushed back into the room, then it's still hot. Either that or it's heating up because of this guy, and this isn't really cooling anything off. So I'm really confused. I'm genuinely confused, because it basically, in my opinion, and you guys can feel free to correct me if this is inaccurate, but from what I'm getting, it really comes down to... Oh, by the way, I found out you can hit F2 to turn the HUD off. This is really cool. It really seems like it comes down to either this loop is not set up correctly and it's not properly ventilating or cooling the air, or this is not sufficient. It's either working properly and it's not enough, or it's not working properly. But everything that I've seen when everybody said make a cooling loop was to do it this way. Now, I don't know if I've got it reversed to where this should be an active vent that pulls this in and then these push out, or if these pull in. I was under the impression that these pulled in and it went to these radiators, which cooled everything off, and then it came back out. That's the way I understood it, but let me know what you guys think. So yeah, we're gonna wrap things up here for today. Let me know what your ideas for this are, because I really thought this would work, but it's not quite there yet. The principle and the logic and all that stuff holds up, but the actual functionality is not there. And it does look like during daylight hours we are still sustainable with these running full tilt, because we're at 100% battery. So with that, we're going to wrap things up here for today. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.